Radio.
Having provided over 50 years of entertainment and information to the patients and staff, Whipps Cross Hospital Radio is to close at the end of 2022. I am Ben Cooper, a former volunteer presenter at Whipps, and in this special feature I will look back at the station, hear from a former presenter who went on to national radio, and ask, is there a future for hospital radio in East London?
Wonderful Whipps Cross, round the clock, music just for you.
Whipps Cross Hospital Radio was founded in 1969 by the Walthamstow Lions Club, initially broadcasting from a leaky green hut in the hospital grounds with very basic equipment, as station manager Phil Hughes explains.
Chris Rousell built a little studio in a wooden garden shed that they managed to borrow or nick from somewhere. And he built a homemade mix. Everything was very, he's Robinson, a homemade mixer, a couple of old record decks, and a microphone, and they connected it up to the hospital, and it seemed to sort of do something. It actually first went on air in July 1970, but it was, I think the foundation date was recorded as 1969, probably about October time.
The station's longest-running show, Down Your Ward, would involve a team roving the hospital to collect music requests, plus recorded or live on-air chats with patients.
We developed this system of doing live ward link-ups to the radio mic, where you could talk to them live in their bed. And you had to have your wits about you if you were going to do an interview like that, because there are certain things you don't really want to talk about. You're there to lift their spirits, not talk about operations and things. But sometimes it was hard to steer them away, and you had to be quite sensitive about it. If they really wanted to talk about, having treatment for cancer or something, you had to go with it. And you just had to listen because they wanted to talk, and that's the way it was. But it was very rewarding to be able to do that.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, but I'm not the patient, you see.
I'm suffering, darling.
Suffering with what? The heat?
The heat, the pain.
Well, we can open the window a bit wider for you.
The food doesn't taste... Oh, no, I shouldn't say that.
It's what's known as the National Health Diet.
Making patients laugh and having that contact with volunteers in the ward, it was believed, would improve patients' mental health and speed up physical recovery.
We recognised that actually being in hospital was a quite isolated experience. It was a strange experience. People were unsettled, they were nervous. And to find somebody coming around the ward for a chat with the excuse of playing a record, and that's all it was an excuse, was seriously uplifting.
Although not the primary purpose of hospital radio, the medium has been a training ground for those wanting to work professionally in radio. Well-known names who started out in hospital broadcasting include Ken Bruce, Philip Schofield, Greg James, Chris Moyles and Jeremy Vine. Phil Hughes believes around 30 former Whipps Cross volunteers went on to have professional radio careers. Indeed, like himself.
I came along, I was at school, and they welcomed me with open arms, despite me knowing absolutely nothing about very much. But it gave me a really good background because in 72 I left school, 73 I joined the BBC, and the experience I'd had at Whipps Cross undoubtedly gave me a leg up to get a job in the BBC in the technical department.
Phil started out as a technical operator in the London control room. He had a secondment to television where he was a vision mixer for a year on Play School before returning to his beloved radio, where he was a producer at Radio 2 for many years, working his way up to become second in control of the station.
I'd been through the absolute heyday of the station with Terry Wogan and all the huge names, and I worked with them all, and it was, I sometimes pinch myself and think, how on earth did that happen? And I've sort of always felt a debt of gratitude to hospital radio for that reason.
You didn't feel at the end of the week, oh, crikey, I've done a week of Radio 2. The last thing I want to do is hospital, more radio on my day off.
No, because it's very different, very, very different. Hospital radio is the only form of radio where you meet the audience and you can actually talk directly to them.
Whipps Cross was not only a springboard for producers, studio managers and other off-air professionals, but for presenters too. The award-winning former Virgin and Absolute radio presenter Annabel Port started out at Whipps Cross Hospital Radio, which helped get her work experience at Virgin, where she became a runner and was soon picked up by Jeff Lloyd to contribute to his show with the late Pete Mitchell. She worked on different shows including Drive Time and Breakfast, and proved she wasn't just a weather girl but came up with inventive songs and was a superb storyteller. In recognition of this, in 2013 she won a Sony Radio Gold Award for Best On-Air Contributor.
It's time for the Best On-Air Contributor, and to present this award, the King of Breakfast Television, Eamon Holmes.
The judges said the winner offered inventive and quirky content from a naturally funny storyteller, hugely entertaining, perfectly pitched. Best on-air contributor is Annabel Port.
Annabel Port. Come on, Annabel.
I couldn't actually watch back that clip of me receiving the award till several years later, because I was so convinced I wasn't going to win that I didn't even bother to think of any kind of speech. And I think this is the sort of thing you probably need to prepare. So I was just sort of spouting stuff on the spot, and I felt absolutely mortified afterwards. I felt like I was just blurting stuff.
Wow.
So I couldn't watch it.
Thank you very much to Nelson Kumar, Gareth Evans, newsreader Tanya Snuggs. Massive thank you to Tony Morey and Clive Dickens. And the biggest thank you of all to Jeff Lloyd. It's been a privilege, and I've been so lucky to have worked with you. You're hugely talented. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Oh, well done, Annabel.
How did it feel when your name was read out by Chris Evans?
Oh, it was a mix of two things. It was a mix of like just being so happy, but also sheer terror of having to then go up on the stage. It was like a big stage, like in front of hundreds of people. It was a mix of being extremely happy and extremely terrified.
Annabel Port there accepting her Sony Award, but does she still remember those early days starting out on Whipps Cross Hospital Radio?
Oh, so well. It was the first time I was ever in a radio studio. And I remember thinking, oh, right, yeah, this is what I want to do. But yeah, I remember it really well. I remember also that you weren't allowed to say when you joined that you wanted to work in radio. That's not what they were after. They wanted people who wanted to sort of contribute to the community. So I lied and said, yeah, no, I'm here because, I really want to help people and make friends in the community. And then about a year later, when I did get a job on the radio, I had to kind of go, yeah. Sorry about that.
And we've got a clip.
It's Whipps Cross Hospital Radio. Ian Parker with you until 10, and also Annabel Port. Is that?
That's right, yeah.
That's right.
As in the drink.
Do you like port?
I love port.
Do you? You drink a lot?
I think it's delicious. The only thing is, apparently, it's the worst alcohol for hangovers. So I try not to drink too much of it.
So you won't be any good at our Christmas party then?
No, just port that I don't drink much of.
Oh, just port. Right, okay. Now, are you a new voice, or have you been on the radio? Have you spoken? Oh, because you've done work with Simon, haven't you, other week?
A bit with Simon, a bit with Ian, yeah. Ian Beach. Not you, yeah.
How are you finding it, all right?
It's fine, yeah, I love it. It's good fun.
Good fun, and go around the wards?
Yeah, that's nice, yeah.
Having a chat with patients and...
Yeah, it's always interesting to see what requests everyone asks for, all the different things they want to listen to.
Yeah, what's your favourite song at the moment that people ask for? Is there one that...
Well, Frank Sinatra's always very popular, and of course, that's a classic, isn't it, Frank Sinatra?
And Mariah Carey's quite high, she's number one.
I'm not a fan, actually.
You don't like her?
No, I think she squeals too much. Sorry, no offence to any fans.
Okay, do you like Madonna?
I love Madonna.
'Cause everyone loves Madonna. She's playing at the Brixton Academy tonight, actually. Is it one-off gig she's doing?
Yeah, I wish I was there. 3,000 people.
You could skip down there and get back for 10.
Do you reckon?
I don't know, you might do it. You have to get a fast train that'll take you there.
And a ticket.
And that'd be a bit late.
Yeah.
All right, do you want to introduce... Do you know this one?
Yeah, it's Borderline.
That's the one?
Yeah.
By the one and only?
Madonna.
And you do actually say you do sound very authentic in there, that you diligently going around the wards and
yeah, that was great. I loved doing that. It was so nice. Although looking back, I remember going around sometimes the maternity wards, and actually 5 years ago I actually had my son at Whipps Cross, and I was in a maternity ward, and I'm not sure I'd want anyone coming around talking to me when you've just had a baby, when you haven't slept for 3 days and you're in a bit of a daze. But I remember everyone being super, super nice and friendly. So we were just lucky that no one ever came up to me.
Are you ready to provide us with another way in which you are not a fully functioning adult?
Yes. So my son started school this week. All fine for him so far. and I'm not in the reception class parents WhatsApp group yet, so pretty much all fine for me.
Great.
Are you in it?
I'm not on WhatsApp.
Oh, yeah, of course.
One of the things I like most about my job, the radio station, is that I had this enormous amount of freedom in that Jeff would tell me what I had to do, and I would do it. And I didn't have to show it to him beforehand. There was there wasn't an editor or anyone who was like, let's have a look. No, you can't do that. Oh, no, change this. I just would do. It would go from there to being on air, which I think is a real rare, lovely thing to be able to do, and that was amazing.
You're listening to a tribute to Whipps Cross Hospital Radio, which is set to close at the end of 2022. The station ticks over quite nicely until 2020, when COVID-19 struck and live programmes had to be abandoned.
Suddenly everything's locked down, and in a lot of hospitals, it's still difficult to generally walk into a ward and feel comfortable yourself, and for the patients to feel comfortable that somebody might be bringing some infection in with them. So there's still a lot of nervousness about people, strangers, walking into wards and carrying something more than a bunch of grapes. So once COVID hit and everything went into lockdown, then naturally programs dissolved. Everybody went into automated output. Volunteers drifted away because nobody was allowed back in wards. And in some cases, that's still the case now, that hospitals don't want extraneous people. They'll take the essential people, volunteers who are helping to feed patients and do essential tasks, but actually is hospital radio an essential task in a lockdown situation? No.
Certainly, COVID-19 has had an impact on hospital radio, but the fundamental factors that have led to the closure of so many stations, including at the end of this year Whipps Cross, have been around much longer. Hospital radio was very much appreciated in the days when entertainment was limited. Perhaps there might have been one TV in the day room at the end of the ward. However, in the days of smartphones, tablets and other mobile technology, including a fast turnover of patients, hospital radio has found it ever harder to reach its audience.
The raison d'etre, the main reason for being there for hospital radio, which was to entertain patients, is no longer relevant. The technology's moved on, the medical care has moved on, the people have moved on, and actually, in some cases, as with Whipps Cross, the hospital itself is about to move on, is about to be demolished. There's a whole new building programme, and we've not been approached by anybody in the trust to carry on in the new build in 3 or 4 years.
So basically, the hospital don't think you're worthwhile anymore.
That's a harsh statement, but it's probably true, and it certainly has happened with another. In the Barts Trust, there are, I think, 5 hospitals, and one of them, Whitechapel, had a station, and they were just booted out of their premises, and that was it. You could say that actually the relevancy has faded, and it probably has. And actually, can they afford the accommodation in a new build? Can they allocate the sort of space we have in the old building for a new building? And the answer is no, they can't, because the cost of it is prohibitive. And what comes first? Medical care. It has to be.
In the heyday of hospital radio, Whipps Cross was one of 300 stations across the UK, including here in East London, Whitechapel AM at the Royal London, Woodside Radio in Newham, and the London Chest Hospital Radio. Only Barts Radio will be the last survivor. Barts hope they'll be able to expand to cover all hospitals in the Barts Trust, including Whipps Cross. So how do they plan to fill the gap left by Whipps Cross Hospital Radio? Barts Radio Station Manager is Ian Chambers.
A daunting task. The way it's going to work, I think, and this really early days, is we have a team of people going around the wards at each site who then feed any requests and messages through to us to broadcast. It's going to be difficult, and also we know ward visiting is going to be difficult still, as we still have a pandemic going on. But also we're using things like our website has instant requests, so people can anytime, day or night, can go onto our website, request a particular song, and then it will automatically be played a few minutes later by our system, We are very much rebuilding the station after the pandemic because sadly a lot of our volunteers decided not to come back to volunteering, which I kind of understand. So we are building up numbers, we're taking on more volunteers, and all ex-volunteers from the other stations are welcome to come to us. We're talking to some people who were working at Whipps Cross Hospital, or still are working at Whipps Cross Hospital Radio. If they want to come over to us, they're more than welcome. And it should be quite an easy transition as they're already known to the trust. But things like the systems and processes and how it's going to work, really early days for us. I would imagine that's all going to bed down in 2023.
New technology makes providing a hospital radio service much easier than in the past, and this is a positive for the medium's future. Ian Chambers reflects on one of the technological changes, that to the music library.
We have access to thousands of tracks. We have most hits from from the 50s to the 90s. We have a high percentage of hits available on our computer just a click away, plus thousands of CDs if we need to go to there. And it's a lot easier because in the old days, you'd have to sort of go to a card index to look up, have we got that one? Can we find the record? Let's get the record. Let's put it on. Is it scratched? Is it going to play? And by the time you've been around the walls and then gone back, it's an hour or two later. Patient's fallen asleep by then. Now we can respond so much faster. And there's very little radio like that still. I mean, there's a few request shows, but ones that will literally play anything we can find from thousands of tracks. There's not much of that immediate radio still available.
So what is the future for hospital radio?
We don't promise we'll be around in 10 years. We hope we will be. We've got a lot of work to do. We've got an army of people we need to recruit, to volunteer. And from a discussion I had with Phil the other day, he knows how hard it is to get volunteers now. In answer to your question, what future of hospital radio? It's on the wane. I've personally overseen the closure of 3 stations. I'm not saying I'm jinxed or anything, but I'm not that keen to close another one, which I'm sure is Phil's dilemma now. He has to, sort it all out, and I wish him well. But there's such a history for Whipps Cross. It's won awards. It's been around for 50 years, something like that. Really tough act to follow. We feel like, we're the new kids, although we've all come from other stations. So we know what we're doing, and we know it's different. We've got these computer things we didn't have in 83 when I started. It's an interesting challenge, and we've got the support of the trust. Everyone's quite excited. We've had some public events where everyone's quite excited about what we can do with Bart's Radio. We've just got that challenge to get on with it and do it now.
So maybe, despite the studios of Whipps Cross Hospital Radio closing down, the service may still be able to continue if volunteers can be attracted. However, in this technological age, wannabe broadcasters now perhaps start off making their own podcasts at home. Whether podcasts have the same intimacy as radio, or indeed hospital radio, is open to debate. But one thing is for sure, they are extremely popular, and many professionals make a living from them, including Jeff and Annabel with Adrift. But how did they become Adrift? Annabel tells me how their time at Absolute Radio came to an end.
It's one of those ones where you turn up for work and they've changed the locks. But you do hear that a lot in radio. But no, it was I was there for a long time, and Jeff was there for even longer. And it came to the point where we felt we were slightly outstaying our welcome, and it was time for us to move on and do different things. And I've been doing it for a long time, and as much as I loved it, it was a case of someone would just ask me, like, describe to me your average day doing a radio show, and I'd say, well, I'd say it's 90% crying over a blank piece of paper, and then 10% terror, and that's it, because there is a lot of, every day is new, and you've got to sort of create something from scratch. So I did find it quite hard work, much as brilliant as it was. So I think I quite like the idea of moving on to doing something new for a bit.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Yeah, but let's not say it out loud.
Okay.
All good things come to an end. Whipps Cross Hospital Radio is to be set adrift too. Will a phoenix rise from the ashes? What will it sound like? We don't really know, but one thing's for sure, Whipps Cross Hospital Radio will say get well soon one last time this year.
Around Whipps Cross we're with you, and we're with you all the way.
It's Whips Cross Focus on a Wednesday evening. Time to join our guests this evening.
Count Arthur Strong.
Hello there, Ben. Absolutely marvellous to be with you here on the Whips Cross Hospital Radio. Well, they might come up and do some war drums if you don't look out.
Saturday afternoons on Whips Cross Hospital Radio, and it's East London's top soccer action.
From Kelly, Kelly's coming to the right-hand side of the West Ham area. In comes the cross, it's a dangerous one!
On Whips Cross Hospital Radio. Here now is your scare on the air in Teletime.
My dear sister at Truro will be sitting up all night for me. And here am I on a cold railway station with ghosts and things all over the place. Oh, I'm sure I saw something move in there.
And if you do hear a train, for God's sake, don't go running out to look at them. Good night to you all.
Good music, sport, and the latest news. Whips Cross Hospital Radio.